Welcome to the High Context Podcast.
Conversations about living a full spectrum life.
My name is Ace.
And I'm Darian.
And we are sitting down with folks who inspire us daily as we dive deep into a wide range of topics, from art, music, history, and science,
to culture, consciousness, and creativity.
All with a focus on the collective while tapping into the individual and our relationships and connections to each other.
We like to think global while we act local.
Get in touch by sending us an email, highcontextpodcast@gmail.com.
Or follow us on Instagram, where you can find some archived live videos of our recording sessions at High Context Podcast.
We hope you enjoy these reflections as much as we enjoyed sitting down for these dangerous yet important conversations.
We look forward to connecting with you soon.
All power to all the people.
And I don't even remember how that...
You're talking about what's getting you high.
Oh, yeah. So Instagram, up until recently, Instagram producer was not accessible to everyone. What that is, if you don't know, is it's essentially how you connect a stream to the platform Instagram outside of just using your phone or outside of using it natively. So Instagram allows you to stream live outside of Instagram. So that's got me pretty high because right now, the only way I was able to do it up until the Instagram change was through Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. And there's various reasons why I prefer not to do live videos on those through OBS anymore, but whatever. But that's getting me high because now I can stream video games and be playing video games on Instagram.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a rather recent change for the platform.
Yeah.
And do you feel like a lot of your engagement's on Instagram as opposed to the other platforms?
Yeah, especially for the type of engagement I'm going for. So, I kind of had taken the shotgun effect as soon as I knew Backbeat was a thing back in the day that I could spell this way. I went on all those platforms and got the name right away, right? But then along with doing that and doing a lot of market research with Darian on, the effectiveness of social media and frequency of posts and things like that, the shotgun approach is not the most effective because then you're spreading your efforts out and there's no concentration. So, yeah. So what's getting me high, though, is that I can play video games on just Instagram because up until now, I just couldn't.
Right.
And now I can. So
that's
I'm
exciting.
just about
Ooh, and you can start involving the hashtags and everything. I'm sure there's a huge video game community on Instagram. So
definitely. I mean, up until now,
do it on YouTube before for real. I mean, Facebook too, but we're kind of leaving Facebook alone.
And it's weird too because up until now, it was available to some. It wasn't available to all. That was what I had an issue with because I would look to see how to do this, and they would give me the instructions to do it, but I couldn't do it.
Along the way, you were blocked. Yeah.
So that's it's a huge, as soon as I saw that, I got pretty happy. More happy than I thought I would be about something like that.
Sure. So is all the video game stuff under Backbeat as well? Okay. All right. So that's how someone would get involved.
Yep. Any social media platform. If you read the shirt, BAQBEET. That's the way you reach me. Yeah.
Epic. So is streaming live performances still relevant? Is that something that still occurs?
Yeah. It's just a lot less of a necessity than it was when nobody was going anywhere because everybody who made their money out playing music were just devastated and they were like, oh, well, where am I going to get any funding? And, now it's more of, okay, it's nice to have your stuff accessible to people who decide to not go to your live shows. And also for some entities, it's working nice for folks who also take donation based or whatever. Yeah. It broadens their audience so that
can't afford the big price ticket.
Exactly. Yeah. Say you have a fan elsewhere in the country who loves supporting you or just moved to a different place and just wants to see your shows. They can only after it's happened unless you stream it. Gotcha. And that's a really cool thing that if people wish to do, they're willing to pay for too. So that's another thing I could add to my, I like this, but it's not paying me well, but it can. So I should probably make sure my hat is right.
That makes me wonder if you're trying to get ahead of the curve still in trying to build your skills in like streaming. I guess I don't even know if you call it streaming, but doing shows in the metaverse, right? Performances in the metaverse. That's getting a little bit more prevalent. I've seen Justin Bieber and a few other different artists.
What is it? Post Malone did some stuff.
Yeah.
Eminem recently was doing some stuff, and it's interesting because video games right now in time that this is recorded is one of the biggest industries in the world. But I just happen to really like them anyway, so that just makes me high too. But in addition to what you were saying about like, am I getting ahead of the curve for the metaverse? I feel like yes, but like right now, I feel like that's already happening, and we're just trying. Like I feel like we're kind of behind a little bit, but we're ahead of the majority of people who are even, in the space.
Sure.
Yeah, the consumers of media and things like that. Yeah, I hear you.
So, for just, I'm kind of like explain like I'm 5 sort of thing. Is metaverse something where streamers located in separate spaces are then performing and streaming together?
Sure, they can, but I think that's just a function of it. It's one of a few functions. I think the main function is to bring the VR aspect to most of the social media experience. So for gamers, what that looks like is playing VR games with each other on the metaverse or just existing in the metaverse together. You could stream it, but like, streamers are able to stream that stuff now.
Okay, so I guess to re-clarify my statement, are we seeing music performances and jams in this VR world?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. Like the short answer is yes.
It's just the overlap between those who are really into video games and those who are really into music and music production. It's not quite a circle yet. We've got a very light overlap on the Venn diagram, maybe.
The way I would describe that, to give you an idea, is Fortnite the game. Post Malone performed on Fortnite the game. To give you an idea. Like that's the simplest way I could put it, because what you mentioned is like, in that is a musician performing on the metaverse, but it's inside of a video game. So you have to play the game to see the concert, and B, this person that's doing the concert is accessing a bunch of people who probably wouldn't go to the show.
Okay.
So that's
picking out of different buckets a little bit in that way.
Or similar, but like, or somebody who goes to your shows all the time is like, oh, I also like video games. Whoa, they're in this video game too.
Crossover.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's crossover, but to your point, yeah, it's kind of like,
and I kind of see Fortnite and Post Malone, like all of that's like Super Bowl level zeitgeist for me. Like that's like everyone.
That's like
aware.
Mainstream. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So when I'm thinking about like just people I've talked to who are really maybe virtuosos in music or who really love music production, who really love live performance, whether performing or engaging in, but maybe like film instead of video games, or maybe they're just more into interacting with art than video games. Are we just saying that VR is the metaverse and metaverse is VR, or is there a delineation?
Nowadays, I think there's a delineation because Meta is Facebook or whatever. Because before, we were just like, oh, Meta's the new stuff Facebook is doing, right? But now Meta is Facebook, so I wouldn't say it's only virtual reality, but it's social media in a fresh way, I think, more than anything. And virtual reality happens to be what that is. Do you have a...
I'm just intrigued. My question's about accessibility.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, so basically, if you've seen a movie called Ready Player One, the metaverse is what I would consider the oasis, right? It's a place where everybody can go in VR, and they can either play a game, they can watch a movie, they can go to a concert, basically anything you can do to entertain yourself. And all you have to do is have a viewer, right? But then Meta has complicated it now because they went and changed their name to Meta. And so everybody was already kind of calling this thing that would have been the Oasis Metaverse. And so
And then they brand it.
Right,
they
and they branded it. Exactly.
Interesting.
So they're trying to
Okay.
create that Oasis space now, but it's not definitely not there. But I think there are other companies that are doing it better than Meta. So it makes it complicated because they do.
And then
kind
that's
of
a whole
own the
different stream. They're
metaverse.
not
Right, it's a
necessarily.
different stream. There's other companies. I think Oculus has
Interesting.
their own.
Oculus
like
and it's so funny because Oculus was, I think, bought by Meta.
Really?
Actually. So,
And the competition just keeps getting.
I mean,
So that occurred long before I had heard the word Meta, that acquisition. Yeah, because I think a lot of people at the time were scratching their heads of why would Facebook acquire Oculus if they're just social media and Oculus is VR.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Zuckerberg wants to create the Ready Player One world, the Oasis.
Man, Spielberg touches everything, huh?
Yeah. It was a book first, so
that's fun.
I haven't read the book.
I've heard good
I
things
wanna
about
read
the
it,
book.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I was slowly getting back to this question. It seems kind of roundabout for me to ask this question now, but what does jazz mean to you? I feel like jazz is in this interesting postmodern age. So I'm curious, is there jazz in video games? Is there a way to jazz through the metaverse? How does jazz incorporate itself in your life, or if there's a definition that maybe others haven't heard before?
I have a fun definition.
All right.
So I really like playing Super Smash Brothers. And it's a video game for those who aren't as nerdy as me. It's a platform fighter. It's existed for, I think, 20 years now. And,
it's one of the best, I
Yes.
think, in terms of through every iteration of generation of consoles. It's been prolific, and also just I feel like it's one of those video games, like, for myself who doesn't play many of video games, it's one I enjoy picking up because it's always going to be different.
That's what's up. So, and it's funny you said that because one of the ways they described the difference between Super Smash Brothers as a fighter, let alone a platform fighter, is that the main difference is when you're doing moves in a traditional fighter, you're kind of limited to what you have what options you have. So you can only jump so high. You can't do certain things. Whereas Smash Bros, there's no set combos. Like in the other platform or in other fighters, there's combos. You can't do anything besides, like, if you push a different combination of buttons in that combo, it's going to stop the combo. Like
you're gonna lose it.
There's only certain things you can do. Smash Bros, they give you less things to do, but that in turn makes it the possibilities so much more. You can
combine them.
Yeah, you can. There's combinations. So like jazz, right? Jazz as a genre mostly has to do with all the players having an idea of what the shared formula is, the key or the tempo or the signature, time signature.
Chord progression.
That's typically all you need as jazz musicians to carry something together. And what jazz means to me in the grand scheme, it just also relates to like various things. But the fun definition that people probably haven't heard is I like how jazz is in video games, like actually in video games, because I love video game music. But in addition to that, a video game style that I think reminds me of jazz is platform fighters in Super Smash Bros. It's a fighter, but they give you less. It's less of a box, so that way you can do whatever you want. But yeah, that's the nerdy definition. But besides that, yeah, I think I live my life like jazz too a lot. Like, we'll get together and be like, hey, we want to do this thing. We don't know how it's going to look exactly. We have an idea. We each have an idea. But then we're like, this is the chord, these are the chords, this is the time signature, and this is the tempo.
Now we're going to riff.
Now we're going to riff. So you get up on there and riff, and I get, and if things start to go a little bit, you're like, we were talking about doing this in this time signature, if you're going to, whatever, we're good about communicating too, which is really nice. But yeah.
So I'm hearing like variety is a factor, communication is a factor,
and boundaries.
Oh yeah,
That's important
agreement.
Because you can't, without boundaries, jazz is just a bunch of noise.
Yeah.
And just like Smash, without boundaries, it's just two people in a sandbox. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
how it relates to what I do and all this stuff. I can come up with other definitions, but we only got something like that.
Well, like how would someone like get involved with your work? Like what if someone is like, I really want to work with you, Jelani, whether it's about video games or whether it's about music production or whether it's about making a video, how does someone get involved with you?
Sure. Good question. Backbeat, man of many platforms. You can reach out to me via email, backbeat@gmail.com. Or, pretty much if you want to reach out to me on social medias too, in relation to what it is. For instance, I put up a lot of video game videos of me. I don't stream it recently because I think curated content works better a lot of the time because streaming is a lot more time sensitive.
Yeah.
And also you got to like sit there and do the thing. You can't be interrupted, this and that, right? But if you make the thing in advance and then put it out later. So on Instagram, I put those out. If somebody wants to stream with me, hit me up. We'll schedule a time to get together and play video games. Or if you want to play online, ask me for my Switch code. I'll give that to you. We can play some Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart or whatever.
You're on Switch, or is there any other video game platforms that you're on?
Right now it's mostly Switch, but
Okay.
I have a PS4, don't play it that much, and I have a PC as well. But Switch is the one. But if they wanted to reach out to me to do video editing, stuff like that, that's cool. I do video editing and I also do video production. If you need a video, I can do that. Music. If you got music you want to do, hit me up, let me know. I'll let you know my rates for production. I'll let you know my rates for mixing, stuff like that. And then painting. I do that. So if you need your interior painted, you can help Little Yeti Painting Company. If you need the information for that, hit me up.
That's cool.
Tell us about
DJ.
Mighty Kind. Oh, yeah. Go
Yeah,
for
I
it,
DJ as well. So if you want to DJ, I DJ weddings, stuff like that as well. But I prefer to do parties. Yeah, I prefer to do things where people know, a little bit about what I do. So check me out. And then what was that thing you
Mighty
said?
Kind.
Mighty Kind, yes. So we got cannabis-infused sparkling water that you're welcome to check out anytime. We got CBD-infused, THC-infused, and non-infused for those who are not trying to get high off of your supply. But seriously, Mighty Kind is a great beverage that's sparkling water, and I'm addicted to sparkling water, especially ones with cannabis in it.
And you rep them, don't you?
And I do rep them. So if you want some of that, you can actually go to BeMightyKind.com and put in promo code BACKB15 to get 15% off your order.
That's exciting.
Yeah, dude.
Whether it's something that we ask ourselves regularly, or if it's something that we can ask of our world, or something that we forgot to ask you with a question that we forgot to ask.
What was the one? That was the what's getting you high? Oh, the spirituality thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get into
Have
it.
you
So
ever had, like a spiritual or paranormal experience?
Yeah. It was when I was on shrooms.
Okay. Tell
was
us
dope.
more.
Psilocybin. Did I say that right?
sure.
Yeah. That type of mushroom is great. It's actually that was when I found out that I needed to do mushrooms in my life. So once I did them, it kind of opened up my nothing means anything really part. And I think I embraced my shadow side more when I did that. So that was kind of my jump into it. Yeah. And also I prefer it because that is the closest to spirituality I've gotten. And it kind of took all of what I knew before, and it was just like, well, it all exists. It's not all false per se.
Different frame of reference.
Right. It's a different frame of reference. So instead of me being like, oh, why does this group of people that I grew up with believe this thing, and why are they imposing it on me? Instead of that, I'm like, well, I wouldn't be the person I am without how their effect on me and like how I've been brought up, and I'm satisfied with who I am and how I think. So I was more okay with being asked, why don't you show up to this thing for religious reasons? And now I'm like, okay, well, this is the reason. Instead of feeling like, oh, there's a lot of pressure
Guilt, shame.
Yeah, guilt, shame, yeah. I kind of am over that, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to like be more open about who I am as an individual. So like the Psychonauts aspect of my personality, I was a lot more like I kept it to myself a lot. And then I did shrooms and I was like, you know what? Like it's fine, you know? So that's the closest to spirituality I've gotten. And
Yeah, I had a similar experience on my first time with shrooms. Was like, I was like shown a framework through Christianity about what spirituality means or looks like or feels like, and I was like not feeling the goosebumps, maybe here and there, or how manufactured was this? And then when I had that first psilocybin experience, it was like, oh, I think I'm like seeing what they were all talking this
about.
up to be, and so I definitely can. I definitely do feel like psilocybin does really help tap into spirituality, whether it's breaking down a framework that is false or showing a framework that can exist no matter the weather.
Exactly.
And that you may not have been previously exposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was just so relieved because once it happened, I was less afraid to die. Like as soon as that experience, I had an experience of recursion once while I was on shrooms, and it was very mind blowing because while I was experiencing it, it didn't seem unusual. And then once I was observing myself after it happened, I was trying to unpack it and it was really hard. So I was like, that's a lot for me to take in right now, you know? And that was where I felt like, you know, I think you were talking about how like, you know, the chakra at the top is like open to the universe and stuff. I felt like that was happening. You know, it was just pouring in.
Pouring into you.
And I was like, that was a mind-blowing experience. And that's what I think my recursion experience was.
What does recursion mean? This is my first time hearing it,
Sure.
I think.
So I think what I know about it, what it means is essentially experiencing something over again. So like a re-experiencing of something.
Okay.
So what I experienced was I zoomed out from where I was so much to where I ended up back to where I was. You know, that's what I mean.
I was like,
so
that
like,
sounds like a really meta experience. If
it
I'm
is.
imagining what you're
It
saying,
feels
right?
it feels fractally.
Right. Like
Yeah.
imagine you're playing like okay, this is the best way I could describe it in a way that people might understand. So if you're looking at something on a screen of a character and you can only see like the grass but you can't see the sky, like a top-down view kind of deal, but like you zoom out as much as you can until you can't recognize what it is, and then you all of a sudden are zooming. Like as you're zooming out, you zoom out to where you can see where you are now. You know,
So
it's
I
wild.
imagine it like this, and tell me if I'm wrong. Basically, you're like, let's say you're behind the main character, right? You're looking at this person, let's say they're writing something on a desk. And you zoom out and you can see the whole room.
Yeah.
And then you zoom out and you see them in their whole house.
Yeah.
And then you zoom out and you see them in their neighborhood. And then you zoom out and you see them in their city.
Yeah.
And then you keep zooming out. And then eventually it's like you're on their pupil.
Right.
Right. And then you have to zoom out again.
And you
to
see they're
their
drawing
whole-
the town
Yeah.
and they're
see them
drawing
the thing.
Yeah.
That type of. It's essentially that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
cool.
that sounds like a really fluid fountain of energy. Like it's water as prana or energy or life force experiencing itself and then recircling itself a little bit.
And I guess where
That's
my
a
brain
really
was.
cool word. I really don't think I've ever heard it before, and I don't even know if I think there has been moments where I've experienced something similar or something close to it, but I've never had that label before. So now I'm very intrigued.
Sure.
So thank you for that.
Hey, it was my pleasure because you've been doing that to me all this episode. So that's great. Thank you. For sure.
So you had a moment where you were still like processing it. I think is where I
Right
jumped
after,
in.
yeah. And then once after, I was just, you know, there was another moment that night where I was just like, nothing matters. And then there was a huge TV in the room, and I looked at it, and I was just like, oh, baby, you know, like if I touch the TV, I can go through it, you know? And then at that point, that was when I'm grateful for like having people around, you know, to be like, bro, you're on shrooms and that's a TV and it's expensive. Don't break it, you know? And then I'm like, okay, all right, let me step, you know? So it was a very interesting experience.
I've had definitely experience on shrooms where I was like, can I bend this reality and like really test it, or I'll do something that I probably normally wouldn't do because I thought I was in some like made up existence or something.
That's why lucid dreaming is very wild. I did that before I even did shrooms.
Okay,
I did that like in 2009, I think it was. But yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, lucid dreaming. I don't know that I've maybe experienced moments of lucid dreaming, but I've heard that lucid dreaming can operate itself in a way that's can be exhausting.
Oh, absolutely.
Where I've heard of people living full lifetimes and then they'll wake up from it and realize, oh, that whole lifetime I just experienced was just 8 hours.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that part because I think my perception of time was not what I was focused on. But whenever I was learning about it, essentially it was shortly after I watched Inception and learned of the concept of a totem. And that helped me with practicing on my own.
Okay.
So one thing I did was I would carry the totem with me everywhere. And then also there would be things that I would do. They say do a thing to the totem specifically every time. So once you're in the dream, you do it. And if the totem doesn't react or if it materializes or something happens, then you do it.
Yeah.
I did it once and then that was enough because I was like, it took a lot for me to do it one time. So I can see how it could be very exhausting, but I've only tried it once.
Okay, so I've also heard totems described as something like a mantra where you keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So and that's funny because
because only you are supposed to know what your totem is about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's to anybody else, you know, this is just a lighter, right? But to me,
and in reality, if it has fuel, it lights.
Right.
And then you would test it in the dream,
Sure.
and it doesn't light, or it turns into a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And that tells you
the go
I'm
light.
dreaming.
That's the go light. Yeah.
I'm dreaming or this is reality.
Right, right.
Uh-huh.
And even in that, like, it's not like something where as soon as you try to do it the next night, they like the dream's like, here you go, try it. It's not like that.
You
It's
gotta
more like you
prime
gotta be
yourself for it.
You gotta be in the mindset.
Yeah, so okay, I've that's a cool framework because I hadn't really thought about it that way. If I say I get up every day and I do this one thing, totemize it, and then do that one thing the first time you can when you're dreaming. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting framework.
Yeah, interesting.
Because if you park in the same place every day, and then one day you look outside and your car's gone, you're like, damn it, is it Wednesday? Did they tow my shit?
Right.
Wait a minute. Oh, and then you
On
wake
the
up and you're
wrong
like,
side of
oh,
the
shoot,
street.
I need to move my car.
Yeah.
So
This is making me even think about it in regard to like reality. I know that Elon Musk is a very controversial figure, but I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and one of the quotes that somebody said is like, there's a very low chance that we're living in base reality. It was what he said. And then that made me think about like dimensions, right? And like how what we would consider reality to somebody that's living in the fourth or fifth or sixth higher dimension is like almost like a shadow, right? And more like a dream state than actual base reality. So I'm thinking about like totems in that regard. What about this world? Does that ever change? Like, do we totemize something that we actually do in this world to make sure that it's always the same? Because maybe it's not, and maybe it is that time where you can put your finger through the TV, right? Because like conceptually, all these things are possible, right? But like you got to be in the right frequency, all those types of things. But maybe, you know, within space-time you're in a place where there's a portal, right? Like, and you don't know that, but like you're occupying that space, and then you try your totem, and then you try the finger thing, and maybe it works. Yeah, and I just go on riffing off what you're saying, but like I feel like we can maybe even do that in our waking lives to see
We
what's
do.
going on. Yeah.
Video games.
Mm.
And the universe that exists within that. Like,
Yeah.
think about it. We can communicate with each other and not even be in the same room,
Yeah.
but also experience the same thing at the same time.
Mm.
So I think I could argue that already is here, but I get what you're saying about like the base reality because the
what
video
created,
game
what
universe,
reality created this?
right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what we experience in video games is something we've created to simulate that. But like I'm definitely sure it exists outside of what we can conceive because these
Yeah.
video game characters aren't perceiving us, they're perceiving each other.
Right.
And
They think they're in their own
Right.
world. Yeah, they don't
We're
even
talking
know
to
we're
each
here.
other. We're probably controlled by 3 different entities or one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
who's to say? But
to say?
at this moment, we can only experience it in the fleeting ways that we do that we're like, oh, the wind blew or this thing
Yeah.
moved or whatever. We can science it away. But also, you know, there's stuff we can't, and that's fine. But yeah.
Unexplainable.
Yeah. Is there something that connects you to source?
I guess my the people around me.
Hmm.
So like that's my crutch. Like as soon as I'm like I can't do this thing, I don't Google it. I say, "Hey, can you provide me what I need because because of the high context?" And they're like, "Oh, cool. I know that you don't work on cars all the time and I know that you always need help with this, but I know a lot about cars. I can help you." And it's not like I'm looking for my friend who knows how to work on cars. I just have the issue and the people around me see that I have the issue and they're like, "Hey, can I help?" That's what I mean. And I mean, I don't like I try to lean on my friends more, but also try not to like be too heavy, you know? Like I'm
Sure.
trying to
Balance.
So, yeah, and you know, I really have to convince myself to ask for help, but that's also something that's kind of my
Sure.
source too. Like, oh, everything in me is going against this thing. Well, you need to think about it again.
Mm.
Take your time. It's okay to ask for help. I've been
resistance.
told,
Yeah.
the resistance. Like, so I think my source is like, dude, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, again, the one is all and all is one that like we, you know, we see each other, we see ourselves in each other is a big, for me, that's been a lot of what I've been honing in on in terms of like giving myself grace and giving grace to those around me is like they are me and I am them. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
So earlier you talked about psilocybin. Do you have a lot of experience with like psychedelics, or is that like the only one? Yeah, tell us about that.
Sure. So, yeah, Psychedelic Psychonauts, before we even decided to make that our name, we discovered the site Arrowid. And it's really fun. It's a fun site. And Baseline, if you don't know what it is, it's a website where you can go and type in your favorite narcotic or whatever, and it gives you kind of a baseline of what it is, what the function is, what it's made of, what the effects are, things
Yeah, it's like
that.
a glossary for illicit substances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because of that made me more open to even experimenting because I'm very much like, up until I was 19, I shamed my mom often for smoking cigarettes, you know, and like, you know, once I turned 19, I started smoking both cigarettes and cannabis. So it's funny. But anyway, so.
Sorry, Mom.
I know, right? I mean, she's fine, you know, she cool. But it's really interesting because before I did psilocybin, I've tried, you know, like other things, but it was only after doing a lot of like talking to my buddy, like, dude, what is that? You know, like, I'm not even gonna touch that because I don't know what that is. And then, you know,
Yeah, so it sounds like having more information and more clerical data about others' experiences and like what to expect and what it's made of is something that provided more of a comfort for you to embark down the uncomfortable.
Exactly. And it also helped that we were making a lot of music around the culture of it, because one of my favorite songs we made was called RC Jams. It's Research Chemicals.
Okay.
And the lyrics throughout are essentially just a commentary on the media that we were getting around the substances that were popular. So, you know, people overdosing because they're measuring, and, you know, people going to parties thinking that it's one thing and it's another thing, and people just not knowing how to help people that are in these situations that are negative. So, like, learning all of that and writing songs about it, I was eventually like, okay, these are a couple substances that I think I would be willing to try. And then, you know, after that, having the experience. So, once I checked, you know, a couple boxes, I kind of, I landed on the mushroom train because of how much people were saying that it helped with their depression. And I've never, in my life, I've not ever been worried about like my handling depression. I know that I experience it, but I don't think it's crippling for me personally, and I don't necessarily empathize with it. But then people were talking about that, and that to me up until then was one of the only ways that anyone I knew that had depression was saying something worked. Or even came close to working. Yeah. And then also the research about like folks in, you know, dealing with PTSD, like in the military and things. So a lot of that really helped my enthusiasm about it. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I did it and that was enough for me. Like, I was like, this is great. But then I was like, this isn't also, I think this isn't for everybody. And then a bunch of people were like, mushrooms are actually working for my depression. And I'm like, that's a big deal. You know, it's a huge deal. Like, and I don't.
Talk therapy, where talk therapy has not worked. A lot of psilocybin has been used. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of psilocybin. A lot of people are starting to use psilocybin in conjunction with therapy. And it's actually delivering like lasting results. But I've also heard of trials with LSD as well. But yeah,
Me
people
too.
are kind of getting into the psychedelics with a licensed counselor. But yeah, like solving 20-year addictions and like, you know, solving alcoholism for good type of things, and you know, it's being presented in documentaries and things like that on Netflix. But I think there's something there for sure.
And frankly, since I've discovered that, I've kind of tried not to abuse it. So I really do. It's been a while since I've even done shrooms, but I know, like, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to, like, anytime. But yeah, I like my relationship with it.
Right. Yeah. Right now, for myself at least, I feel like the last few times I've used mushrooms, or even if it was a microdose, it's just felt very heavy. And so, like, I'm intrigued with, like, oh, okay, like maybe a microdose with therapy is a good way to go. Or, any number of like a combination of things, as opposed to just like having a microdose and going to a concert.
Right.
Like, for me, my brain always goes back to mission. Like, it goes back to like, this world isn't what we need it to be.
Sure. Totally.
So that's where I'm like, I'm good with a break. Like, let's work on some of this.
That's real.
And like, once my side of the street, as I put it, is like, I've picked it up, then that's where I think I can kind of dive back in again, or use it as an oasis, or use it as a celebration, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to use it kind of passively or casually and then be reminded of all these things I haven't yet done or whatever. Like, yeah. So it's been an interesting journey for myself. Like, I have friends who produce, and it's been interesting to help people connect with medicine in that way, but also recognizing my own part that I play in it as well. Yeah. So I appreciate that sentiment of maintaining the good relationship with it. It's not its own entity, but it's a tool, and a tool that's gets overused isn't as sharp.
Boom. Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, yeah. Is there anything that like our world isn't maybe asking yet? Is there a question that like we haven't like asked ourselves, like in terms of, there's a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of topics out there, but is there something that's maybe going under the radar for yourself or for others? Or have you ever seen a psychic, a medium, a ghost, or a cryptid, or an alien?
So to answer the first part about the unanswered questions, I think we should ask ourselves, what is enough? Really,
Ooh,
like actually,
I got chills.
You know
That was
what
a
I mean?
big one.
And then
What is enough?
Right. And then the second part
That's
of
a great
that,
question.
I once was told by, I guess, what do you call it? A person with, I think it's a medium or whatever, right? I guess somebody
with
who's like gives you,
prescience.
they're like
Reading your palm.
Yeah.
A palm reader.
One of those types
A
of
medium,
things.
yeah.
So, yeah.
A psychic, maybe.
I wanted to not misword it.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
So,
You had a conversation with them.
yeah, when I was, this is funny, I was pretty young, like before high school.
Okay.
Or not before high school, like at the later part of high school. I meant.
Okay.
Like I'm 17, 18. And it's in the loop too. It's so funny. But we're walking, I go to this person, and essentially they told me I'm going to be a terrible dad. And I was like, that's silly.
Rough.
I immediately was like, that's crazy. Like, I mean,
I can't be a terrible dad if I don't have kids.
Exactly,
Like-
yeah, it was a lot. But anyway, that was the.
Wow.
I mean, but then when that happened, I still think about it a lot, but I'm not like self-conscious about it. I'm just thinking like that whole, I've seen enough media to be like, oh, did they mean because this crazy thing happened and I just happen to not be there? And then they're like, like.
Sure,
Yeah.
or like
It's
or
not beyond
it's-
the realm of possibility, but it's just silly.
Or when we
Yeah,
think
given
about
your personality, I don't see you ever being a bad father.
High
But anyway.
context.
there's that too, and yeah, people cold read wrong all the time, but like the or there's that time travel narrative where she told you that
Yep.
so that in the future you won't.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought about multiple things about that. So,
Yeah.
and I'm a huge like
Interesting.
time traveling nerd about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of media I need to watch about time travel, but like I
Sure.
love the concept. But yeah.
Do you have a favorite
Technically, it is
film?
possible.
Yes, yeah, you're right. So I mean,
Or
the
my
only,
question was favorite film that discusses
do with
time
that?
travel. Yeah.
Oh.
And then we can go into what your favorite film is if you want.
Oh, sure. So as far as the time travel thing, I can't even remember the
Someone
last
asked me
one.
recently, and I said Endgame because I really liked how they dealt with everything.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 on VHS.
Roll back.
There we go.
I still have it at the crib.
Let's do
no,
it.
it's
I love
funny.
that.
So they
I got
don't.
a VHS player on it somewhere.
It's so funny because in the movie, the time travel part is not profound
Sure.
at all.
Sure.
But it's silly, and that's the first one I thought of that had to do with time travel that I actually like watched.
Yeah.
But the other ones I know of that I haven't watched, like Time Cop. I'm aware of that, but I haven't watched it.
I haven't
Technology.
either. Yeah.
Back
Oh,
to the
yeah,
Future.
that's
I
a
haven't really watched
classic,
that
yeah.
either. Like I've
Really?
seen
Wow.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Parts
in
of it.
parts, and also I went to the orchestra to see
when
it.
they-
Oh,
So I don't
nice.
count that because you're
They
not.
scored it.
Well, I loved
We did
it,
watch
but
the movie though.
we did. But like, you can't hear the. Like I think if to watch a movie, like that's like watching a movie at Applebee's. Like,
Okay, I'm
you're not
gonna
listening to the-
interject. I'm gonna interject. I brought my grandma to the symphony. She's a
Uh-huh.
huge fan of the symphony.
Yeah.
And we saw The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And she was not gonna watch that movie any other way. Honestly,
Oh,
like
I
whether
feel you.
whether she and like the fact that she walked away enjoying it as much as she did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard when
It's a cool
when Ken
experience.
Page
Yeah,
is
yeah.
introducing the film.
Yeah.
Like that's our for me that was our
Yeah.
like peak experience for
That's
how
legit.
nerdy I get with that movie. But
Yeah.
like I think when you're seeing it at the symphony,
It counts.
It does
Okay.
count.
All right.
It sounds like you want to rewatch it.
Yeah,
It sounds like you might want to rewatch it with the other
Sure.
ones right behind it and stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally appreciate that, but
Totally. But I feel you.
You know, like don't shock
discredit
people
it.
and say you haven't seen Back to the Future because people freak out when you haven't
They
seen that
definitely do.
movie.
It's
Well,
one that people do
Here's the
appreciate.
thing. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen.
Yeah, no,
There's
same.
so
Same.
many. I
You're too
haven't
busy
seen.
playing video games.
Exactly.
Too
Now,
busy with the
ask me about
production.
I
Buffett.
watched a lot of movies. Jess
Yeah.
has not seen half the movies I've seen.
Yeah.
We've
And
started a
same
list.
here,
Yep.
same. There's a lot of like classics like I really haven't
Really?
seen, but
Yeah, me
and
too.
only in the past like 15 years have
You're
I
just
tried
into
to
other
make up
stuff.
for it.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, for myself growing up, like I didn't watch Nightmare Before Christmas until I was playing it freshman year of high school, and it came out the year I was born. So
Right.
for me, it was a matter of being pretty like just growing up in a more conservative lifestyle.
Yeah.
My parents didn't want me watching Rugrats, just to give you an
Right.
example of where we were at. Well,
Wow.
it was because how Angelica talks to the kids, how the kids kind of like
Right.
talk back to the parents and stuff. It just wasn't what they wanted as an
My
influence.
parents wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons, but Bart was basically cursing on TV.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yeah.
Rugrats. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
to get
That's
like
interesting.
I've been trying to
Yeah.
fill in the gaps since then,
I
and
feel
I
that.
really see like film as art a lot of times. Like I've been
Absolutely.
like when it comes to recent releases, like Poor Things to me is like an essay, a piece of art on film, and it
that's
is like grotesque art in a way, but it is also like foreign film and like it's to me like that's one of the films where the camera feels like a character because of their use of depth and their use of
Cinematography can
Yes.
make a movie, or it can break a movie too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
good cinematography, man, it just makes you feel.
It makes
you
you.
feel something.
Yeah. It's immersive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie? It's hard to pick. I have like a top 13.
Yeah, I got a
couldn't
few.
even
I got a
choose.
few, but that's tough. Favorite movie is hard, but I got a few that are really just okay.
Anything comes
Blue
to mind.
Streak is
Oh,
funny.
Wow.
I don't
love
know
it.
this movie.
Comedy,
Martin Lawrence, Luke Wilson,
Yeah. I
Okay.
believe Luke Wilson.
and Dave Chappelle's in it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And a few other actors. Dude, that one I love it. It's so funny, and it's
That
it's
reminds me
the
of high
it's
school.
the best story to me of. I love stories where you're rooting for the main character and they're a bad guy.
The
Like-
anti-hero.
Yeah.
But I like this one so much because the bad guy, you feel for him the whole time, and not in like, oh, at the very beginning you're
'cause
like,
he's
oh, he's a
robbing-
criminal,
Yeah.
but then
Goes for a
as he
diamond.
go, like the concept of the movie is Martin Lawrence. He's a criminal that hides a diamond inside of a police station before it's a police station. It's under construction.
This is a
But-
building
So
under
this is like a
construction.
heist,
A heist
like film.
yeah.
Okay.
But,
okay.
but when at the very beginning of the film, after he hides the diamond in the abandoned building, it's later after he gets out of prison is built as a police station. So he has to infiltrate the police station to get the diamond, which is obviously worth a fuck ton of money. Sorry, are we able to swear on this?
Yeah, sure. I
Okay.
don't care.
Sorry, I didn't know.
I don't give
So,
a
okay,
fuck.
cool. Cool. So, but it's
We'll
funny
just put
because.
it- there's a explicit.
Yeah. So
on
it's
this.
just so good and it's fun and it's just you're rooting for Martin because he's silly, but then at the same time, like the stuff he goes through, it's like cops and he's acting like a cop. It's good. You gotta watch it.
he
Cool.
has a
A story of mixed identities.
Yeah,
Too.
it's an
Yeah.
action comedy, and
mean-
those are my wheelhouse. So
action
if it's
comedy,
action
gotcha.
comedy, I'm probably in there.
When I think of like
Jackie Chan.
cops,
oh yeah,
when I think of like cops and infiltrating, like earlier this year, I rewatched Black Klansman, so it almost seems like
I wanna
reverse
watch
Black
that.
Klansman.
That's
a
so
little
Yeah.
bit.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
I gotta
And
watch
it's
that.
based on a true story, so awesome.
it's crazy. Yeah,
Dude,
so I'm definitely gonna check
I
that
really
out.
want to read his book, like
yeah.
because of and it's wild, and I also like just
It really is.
Spike Lee is such a great storyteller. The casting in it was really phenomenal. I'm a
Yeah,
huge
man.
Adam Driver fan. I always forget his name. Daryl something. Darius.
I know who you're talking about. I
Yeah,
think.
he was on Disjointed, and then he was on SNL, and I was like
Yeah.
geeking so hard, but
That's what's up.
yeah. So, do you besides Blue Streak, is there another film that like you keep coming back to, or one that's like holds a special place in your heart?
Rush Hour.
Okay, yeah, we were just talking Jackie
Nice.
Chan, yes.
There's a whole, and it's so funny. Only as an adult, like both of the, well, Blue Streak, I think less than Rush Hour, but like Rush Hour, some people would argue doesn't hold up well. And I agree. I understand. Right. But on contrary to that, right? I think it's really interesting. Somebody did a video essay about this. Rush Hour in its time being very powerful in its solidarity of the Asian culture and black culture in America.
For sure.
And like that movie embodied that, because even though they like the jokes they said to each other were kind of rough, the relationship they had with each other and like wanting to help each other and be in solidarity, and nobody's giving them a chance at doing what they need to do in this movie, and they're working together to do it. But also it's the first time in a while in cinema where the two lead persons were not white.
Yeah, people of color, yeah.
It was crazy. It was a lot at the time, but also, I mean, it's goofy and it's another action comedy where it just, to me, I just loved the crossing of the worlds too. Because like, until then, it was very, like, you didn't see that type of intersection in movies.
Action, adventure, or comedy.
Yeah.
But it
Comedy,
easily,
adventure, but barely was there action in it.
and even so, like, I mean, like, the style of Jackie Chan movie up until then was it's distinct. It's like a certain cinema look. Like you said, cinematography is very distinct. Like, even if Jackie Chan's not on the screen, you probably know it's a Jackie Chan movie, right? Similar for Chris Tucker, but when this movie came out, it looked like each of their movies. You know? Like,
Styles,
the style was very much, I don't know. It just meshes well, I think.
Sure.
And just the work that had to be done at the time. And now watching the interviews now are funny because Jackie Chan's like, I didn't understand like half the humor on that.
Right.
Or most of it. He was just like, I'm just reading the line and everybody's laughing and he doesn't know what's going on. So anyway, that's interesting too, but it's one of my other favorites.
Yeah, so it's and that's another film I haven't seen, but like it sounds like from what you described that when they're taking the jokes at each other, that it's a recognition of what each person has already had to face in their own culture and like
that was my interpretation of it for sure.
I'd say that's accurate.
Now, as for how it was for the actors, that's different. But
like I'm sure again, out of context.
Yeah, exactly.
Those things, you know, the context matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, big time. So we don't normally ask people what their favorite movie was. I don't actually quite know how we got there necessarily, but we got from time travel to film.
That's what it was.
Was there anything else we wanted to? What does the future look like for you guys for certain media? Like what are you excited about? What projects are in development? Like,
well, this kind of crosses over for me at least into what we talked about in the first episode, is like the family history research that I've been doing. We're working on a documentary, but we're also just kind of working on building our catalog of music so that we can maybe potentially do some licensing, but just like building a body of work that will be there even after we're gone. You know what I mean? We just passed Jay Dilla's birthday, and I think about him all the time. You know, having that body of work that people can still enjoy and kind of get to know who he is through it. So I'm trying to do that just before I leave this plane of existence. So that's one of the other things that I'm super excited about.
Word up. Yeah, certain media, to me, it's one of those expressions of the way you would like to see the world around you. That's what it means to me. In reality, it's become one of these symbols of all the work that we've done, really. And we have so much work to sort through, and I'm kind of like an archivist a little bit, like kind of on accident. But yeah, the last 10 years, I definitely have a very strong body of work that can pretty much tell a whole story about the last 10 years in St. Louis as a whole, really. But the music stuff, and what I hope to aspire to in the future with certain media is like getting folks together that want to do more for the product or the environment around them and are trying to figure out, you know, affordable and accessible ways that's important.
Yeah, I love that accessibility of art. I think is huge. Yeah. So, and accessibility of art's been something that I've been diving into, and like when I've been modeling for art classes, and it's been interesting to hear like an artist go through like a passive paint and be like, well, this is how I see it, and the instructor be like, okay, but like when someone's just seeing this for the first time, you're giving them all of the context of what all this means, and you're interpreting for them and directing their eye to certain things. So creating an accessibility of messaging as well, like within the art itself, and of course access to that message is part of the accessibility as well. But I was a question that's been on my mind for at least the month of February, and maybe for these next 3 months actually, is like how or what is something that can help improve the health of the St. Louis / global art scene, like between mediums, between artists, between, you know, for myself, I feel a little bit on the periphery because I'm not producing art, but I do still feel part of the scene as being one that interprets or whatever. And part of what I've seen, like I said, from this kind of periphery experience or outside experience, is that there are some like factions, there's some fractures, and I don't see too much, like there's a lot of cross multidisciplinary stuff, but I'm seeing it in like pockets of conglomerates. And so, you know, what's our spinach? Like what helps our heart health? Like what can create a healthier arts scene in St. Louis?
I think sharing other people's art. That's been my approach. I have a thing on that kind of is an accident too, but I have a thing on Instagram called My Friends Do Stuff. Actually, I have it on Facebook too. That year, that group turned like 11 or something.
Whoa.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Cool.
But anyway,
Yeah.
pretty much that's literally
Awesome.
just me sharing my friend's stuff.
I
And I
remember when
think
you
more,
started that.
yeah, and like I started
Wow.
another group called the Square Roots Project, which we were the Psychedelic Psychonauts, which was Psych Squared.
Okay.
'Cause it's psych twice.
Okay.
But I made one called the Square Roots because I thought our message was being a little. It started to become something else. Like the Psychedelic Psychonauts turned into a band that was just talking about like being in relationships with people and being sad. And I wasn't like vibing
That
with
wasn't your mission.
But what got me into Psychedelic Psychonauts, I kind of wanted to continue that on the Square Roots.
Okay.
So that's what the Square Roots is for. It's just to share ideas that I like. But then my friends do stuff is sharing my friends' things. So even if I don't have anything to put out, I'm at least trying to boost my friends' organic reach by sharing their stuff. And that's what I think is the spinach really is, because if enough people are talking about something that they care about to other people in a way that's positive and helpful, then that's essentially what the algorithm is emulating. Like we just need to do that. Like if people are sad about the algorithm having so much control, but they miss the part that they can control what it does. I mean, they can control how it
Input,
they can input. So I think our spinach is like sharing ideas more, but being intentional about that, not just arbitrarily sharing, because you know you could share misinformation, but you could also share how to change a tire, you know, like, and it's cool because there's a lot of mediums that give you free access to information, but the information they're accessing to a lot of the times has a paywall or whatever, and and then you pay the paywall and then it's just garbage, you know, like so it may as well be something worthwhile.
Right. I'm hearing like sharing information, but also like sharing joy.
Sure. I mean, you can share other things too. Like I think it's important to even share if you're not experiencing joy. But I mean, you don't have to, but I think sharing things that help other people. Like there's people who are depressed who might just need to learn how to cook a little bit or a few cooking things to get them out of a depression, right? Like for me, I've gone through a breakup. And in doing that and coping with that, I've learned how to paint and I've learned how to cook some stuff. And these are things that I wasn't thinking about doing, but because people are sharing those ideas already online, I can just go get it. And then now my life is enriched.
Yeah.
I think we should be more intentional about that. We can help, like, instead of us saying, our city's so fragmented and siloed, we can start an open mic.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Saying, oh, well, all the producers around here are only producing certain people. We could become a producer that produces the other people. You know, like, I love what Darian's doing with teaching people how to DJ. Like, that's awesome. And the more people know about it, the less DJs will have to complain about how people don't understand what DJs go through. You know?
Honestly, it's really, that is your argument here, is the emphasis and impetus behind why we did it. Because there's so many DJs out here that suck. And I've heard them in our town. And I'm like, if you're from here, there's no way you should not have the skills. We collectively in the DJ scene have enough people that know enough to at least teach you, if not have a space to teach you. So
why
we're
keep
just
it
like,
to yourself?
Why don't we just start a workshop ourselves? And then there we are.
That's hilarious.
Be a part of the solution.
Yeah,
Don't just talk
see?
shit.
That part.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the spinach.
I appreciate that a lot. Thanks for being a part of this project.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
Also,
The pleasure
shout out
is
to
mine.
Midwest Avengers and Chase Sanchez.
Yeah, when you were telling me about how Backbeat came, I was like thinking about SO's origin story about
Yeah.
so and so and how Jamie kind of stumbled upon that it's a part of the music, but also like its own thing. I just find that so cool. So lots of really cool conversations to be had.
Yes.
Yeah, we should get him on here too.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The whole
Yes.
we're cooking.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we've ended the podcast with this notion that actually came from when I was rewatching the Black Klansman, is all power to all the people. So yeah. If you wanna for your little snippet.
Yeah. Can we say it together?
Yes.
Sweet.
All right. We gonna count us?
1, 2, 3.
All power to all the people.